applying Kanban. So we're going to see actually in what sort of products or software elements we have to use Kanban. So we're going to look at the wrong reasons to apply Kanban and the right reasons to apply Kanban. What are the wrong reasons to apply Kanban? Let's say user stories are very diverse. You cannot split them into smaller tasks. You don't know what can be done within 2 weeks for given sprint. That is not why you have to. That's not the right reason for you to choose Kanban. They have failed iterations. You're not able to determine your velocity for each sprint, and you always have backlog. They failed retrospective meetings. We're not able to find what is wrong with what you've done, where people are working together, or just for simplicity, because as we know, Kanban is simpler than Scrum. These are not the right reasons to apply Kanban, but these are, what are the right reasons? If you look into what are the right reasons to apply Kanban, yes, if you want to release your product at any time, ability to release at any time. A task starts at to do, it has to just go to release. It goes to the workflow and it's ready to release. You don't have to wait for your Scrum iteration to finish. You don't have to wait for your waterfall life cycle to finish before you can do this. Ability to change the priorities on fly. You're doing something that's, you have 2 tasks and work in progress. You can keep changing the priority of your to-do list as to what has to come next until they've moved into work in progress. There's no constraints about stopping it. In Scrum, once we get into iteration, and especially if we have longer iterations of 4 weeks, if there are any changes mid of the cycle, they're not encouraged, because you have to replan, you have to re-estimate, you have to do everything. You don't need iterations. You have a product where you're not able to split tasks further. It doesn't make sense to split a task, or especially when it's a new product where you have to have all the features in, and you cannot split each feature to be separately released. You don't have to estimate, and we talked about the cases where we don't need an estimation. You have a perfect flow visualization. You know what happens from the start to the end. These are the reasons why we have to apply Kanban. Okay, so next section we're going to look into how a Kanban team will operate on a daily basis and how their Kanban board will look like, and I'm handing it over to Karpagam to walk you.
Hi everyone, this is Karpagam here. I'm going to take you through Kanban visualization. I hope everyone understands what is Kanban and where are the right places to apply Kanban and what are the wrong places to apply Kanban. But to understand the big picture, let me narrate a story to you so that you can understand the concept of Kanban in an easy manner. So, one fine day, a team chooses to adopt the Kanban for one of their projects. So the first step in Kanban is to set up their Kanban board to visualize their entire workflow. So before that, what we have to do is we have to come up with the different stages for each of the tasks and what are the lower and the higher limit for work in progress in each of these states. So you can take this board as an example for this project. So here we have 6 states calling, let me call out the names: to do, in progress, code review, testing, QA completion, and released. So here the team comes up with 1 as the lower limit for to do and 6 as the upper limit for to do. What it means is at any point in time in the project, the minimum number of tasks that can be in this board is 2, and the maximum number that can be in this board for to-do list is 6. So this goes with other states as well. So let me proceed to the next slide. So here we are having 3 tasks in the to-do list. So as we already seen, the roles in Kanban are not prescribed. So anyone can take up the role of PM and they can come up with the to-do list. I mean, the task, they can define the task that can be placed in the to-do list. So we have 3 tasks now in the to-do list, and green it shows as PM, and yellow is the developers, and the orange one is the tester. So what happens is, once we come up with a list of things that have to be done for a particular time, say these are the important things that have to be done now. Then we have to understand the task end to end. Before taking up the task, we have to think about what are the other projects that are going to get affected by this, and we have to understand the task end to end, and then we have to move it to in progress. Once that is in progress, the developers can start working on that. So here when you see 3 tasks are in progress now, and there are 2 tasks that are in to-do list. So even though we understand task 4 and task 5 in a better manner, we are not supposed to take it to in progress now, because we have set it 3 as the upper limit in progress. So the developers, they will start working on this task. Once they move these tasks to code review and then they have handed over it to QE for testing, they can pick up the task from the to-do list and they can start working on that. Okay, here comes the interesting part of this Kanban board. So here, what we can see this QE engineer coming and helping these developers for doing the code review. So as Nitya mentioned earlier, here we are not describing any predefined roles for people in the team. So what each team member can do is, whenever he finds bandwidth, he can pinch in and he can do whatever is feasible for him to do. So here the QE engineer pinch in and he is helping the development team to do code review. So once this is moved to testing, here we are having only 1 task in progress, and QA is now kind of overloaded. He or she is having 3 tasks to be tested. So now the developer can take the role of a QA engineer, and he can help the QA engineer to move the tasks that are in the testing state to QA completion. So this helps us to take up tasks that are important to do right now, and we are completing those tasks to completion before taking up other tasks that are in the to-do list. So this will enable us to visualize the product end to end before committing to the product. So these are the advantages of Kanban.
So if you look back at the Kanban board that we showed you, one other good use case is if there's too many tasks on just the testing or too many tasks on the to-do list, then you know that either the PM or the QA or whichever swim lane has a lot of tasks, that they're overloaded and they need help. So the whole team comes together collaboratively and see what we need to do to move this task to the next part of the workflow, and that is the beauty of Kanban. We wanted to conclude with a thank you slide saying that any process or methodology that is not destructive, applied with discipline and high-skilled people, will definitely work. So, and likewise, any process, Kanban can also be customized. So these are the basic guidelines of Kanban, but you can customize it to suit your team, and please do try it out because it's a very powerful process. With this,
thanks for the insightful presentation, Nitya and Karpagam. Let's quickly take up the questions now. I request you to read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to your insights. So you would be able to see the questions in your question doc. Are you able to see them?
Able to see the questions.